In the extended phenotype, Richard Dawkins expands on the ideas first introduced in the selfish gene by offering a more intricate perspective on how genes exert influence beyond the bodies of the organisms they inhabit. While the selfish gene emphasizes the gene as the unit of selection, the extended phenotype pushes this notion further by arguing that the effects of genes extend well beyond the physical form of an organism, reaching into the environment and even other organisms. Dawkins begins by challenging the traditional view of the phenotype, the physical expression of an organism's genes. Typically, the phenotype is understood to include an organism's traits, such as eye color, height, or fur patterns. However, Dawkins argues that this understanding is too limited. He introduces the concept of the extended phenotype to show that genes influence not only the internal structure and behavior of organisms, but also their external impact on the world. This could include the construction of a beaver's dam, the shape of a spider's web, or the manipulation of other organisms by parasites. A striking example of the extended phenotype can be seen in parasites that alter the behavior of their hosts. Certain parasitic worms, for instance, manipulate the behavior of their hosts, such as insects or fish, to increase the parasite's chances of being transmitted to their next host. The worm might cause the host to behave in ways that make it more vulnerable to predators, ensuring the parasite is passed on to its next stage of development. From the perspective of Dawkins, this manipulation is an extension of the parasite's genetic influence, even though the worm itself is not physically involved in the host's actions. This exemplifies how the influence of genes stretches into other organisms, which are used as tools for the parasite's genetic success. In another example, Dawkins examines the intricate construction of beaver dams. These dams, which significantly modify the environment, are an expression of the beaver's genetic blueprint. While the dam is not part of the beaver's body, Dawkins argues that it is still a part of the beaver's extended phenotype, because it directly results from the beaver's genetic programming. The dam serves the beaver's genes by providing a safer, controlled environment that improves the chances of survival and reproduction. In this sense, the dam is as much a product of the beaver's genes as its fur or teeth. Dawkins also explores how genes in one organism can have effects on another, creating complex interdependencies. He presents the idea of gene for traits, suggesting that genes can influence structures and behaviors that may appear unrelated at first glance, but are actually connected in intricate ways. A gene in a plant, for instance, might influence the traits of insects that feed on it by shaping the plant's defense mechanisms, such as the production of chemicals that deter herbivores. In this way, the plant's genes reach beyond its physical body to shape interactions with other species. The book also delves into the debate over the level at which selection operates in evolution. Traditional Darwinian thought posits that natural selection acts at the level of individuals, with those best suited to their environments, surviving and reproducing. In the extended phenotype, Dawkins refines this view by arguing that natural selection should be understood as occurring at the level of genes. Genes, not individuals, are the primary drivers of evolution. organisms are simply vehicles or carriers for genes, and their traits, both physical and behavioral, are tools that genes use to enhance their own survival and replication. This gene-centered view of evolution has profound implications for understanding the relationship between organisms and their environments. By focusing on the gene as the unit of selection, Dawkins demonstrates how organisms can manipulate their surroundings to increase their genetic success. For example, a bird that constructs a nest is not simply engaging in a behavior that ensures its offspring's safety. The construction of the nest is a genetic strategy designed to improve the bird's reproductive success, ensuring the propagation of its genes into the next generation. Dawkins' theory of the extended phenotype extends the reach of natural selection. In this view, the boundaries of the organism become permeable, and the influence of genes can stretch far beyond the body, shaping ecosystems and other organisms. For instance, the patterns and structures created by social insects, like termite mounds or ant colonies, are also examples of extended phenotypes. These structures, while not part of the insects' bodies, serve the genetic interests of the colony by creating an environment that supports the collective success of the colony's genes. One of the key points Dawkins makes in the extended phenotype is that evolution is not a teleological process, meaning there is no goal or purpose behind the adaptations and traits we see in nature. Instead, traits emerge as a result of genes competing for survival and replication. The traits and behaviors we observe in organisms are simply those that have been successful in promoting genetic survival over time. This non-teleological approach helps explain why evolution can sometimes result in seemingly odd or inefficient adaptations. The only measure of success for a gene is its ability to persist across generations, regardless of the complexity or simplicity of the mechanism it employs. Dawkins also engages with critics of the gene-centered view of evolution. Some biologists argue that focusing on the gene as the sole unit of selection overlooks the importance of other factors, such as group selection, or the role of the organism as a whole. Dawkins addresses these critiques by emphasizing that while other levels of selection may exist, they can all ultimately be understood in terms of the survival and replication of genes. He maintains that the gene remains the most fundamental unit of selection, as it is the entity that is passed on from one generation to the next with high fidelity.